and I don't know how much will pertain to the Raleigh office, but the first thing on the agenda today is going over this coastal area disclosure. So for everybody in the office, I wrote on a copy, and I can make copies of this for everybody, so that's like a little cheat sheet, but Doug also pre-filled in some stuff online, but I've gotten a lot of calls like, how do I do this? What does this mean? Kind of a thing. So I figured I'd go over it one more time just because it's still new. So this needs to be filled out with every...
Let me pull it up and share this, because when we tried to record this before, when you did it, it didn't work.
Okay.
A good time.
Megan, will you tilt that screen down? How are you feeling?
Better.
It looks better than yesterday, but still swollen. Did they say what's wrong?
He said it's my allergies and a sty.
Oh,
Yeah.
So putting like a tea bag on here?
I've been doing warm compresses. I filled a sock with rice.
Oh, yeah.
Put it on my eye, and he got me medication and allergy meds.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sort of like allergies doing that.
Yeah, he said it's mixing in with my sinuses. So it's like super.
Okay. Are we good, Doug?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So a lot of people are asking, you know, what all this means. So I'm just going to go through it one more time just to make sure everybody understands how we're supposed to be filling these out. So, and like I was saying just a second ago, I have it notes written on the side, and I'll make a copy of this and I can share it, but Doug has pre-filled out most of the information on there. So when you go in to do it now in .loop, it should be filled out. Mine's not, because I pulled it up from an old loop before he changed it. So when you look up at the screen, mine doesn't show that, our screen, but okay. So basically you need to have this filled out for every buyer. This just protects you as the real estate agent from, you know, someone coming back later and saying, you didn't tell me it was in a flood zone. You didn't tell me that we have hurricanes here, you know, whatever the case may be that they're going to say. So just make sure you're filling this out and adding it to the loop with every buyer that you're representing. The flood zone area, this one's pretty cut and dry. So basically, if it's in a flood zone, any of them, if it's in COBRA, VE, AE, I always remember for the newbies, VE means very expensive. And then the AE is the next. That's kind of how I tell my clients, like if I see something in the VE, I'm like, oh, it's going to be pretty pricey. But any of those flood zones, COBRA, VE, AE, anything else that says it's in a flood zone, when you look on the FRIST map, you're going to check the first box saying that it is located in a special flood hazard area. If it's not in a flood zone and it reads X on the FRIST map, then you're just going to check the second box. So make sure each property that you are selling, you're going to that FRIST site and you're looking up the flood zones, because the flood maps have changed. And that's basically what the second thing is saying, is that the flood maps can change and that you should be looking at the flood maps constantly to just make sure. I mean, I don't think they change but once every couple of years, but they did just change not too long ago. So that's what the next section is, informing your buyer that you can go and check out the flood maps because they're constantly being updated due to changes. The next part is flood insurance. This is where a lot of people were confused. So NFIP is federal flood insurance. So if you're wondering what NFIP is, that's the federal flood insurance program. So if a property is here at the coast, everything except properties that are in a COBRA zone are located in an area that participates in the NFIP. So you would check the first box. If it is in a COBRA zone, then chances are you're checking the second box because they usually do not participate in the NFIP. The next section underneath is saying that if it's in a COBRA zone, you're going to check that. That's what Coastal Barrier Resource System is. That means it's in a COBRA zone. Now, on the bottom line of that, which I underlined on my notes thing, it says flood insurance is available from FEMA's National Flood Insurance Program only if the structure on the property was built before 1982 and the area in which the property is located participates in the NFIP. So it basically, if it's in a COBRA zone but was built before 1982, it may have been grandfathered into the NFIP program. So you need to check on that. It might qualify for federal flood because it would be grandfathered in. Does that make sense? So normally, if it's in a COBRA zone, it's a new house, you're going to check it does not participate in the NFIP, and yes, it's in a COBRA zone. Anybody have
Usually
questions
everything
on that?
oceanfront is before 82 anyway.
I mean, yeah,
55.
pretty much.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the only caveat to the
Yeah.
whole thing. So if it's Cobra, it does not participate in NFIP. If it's not, it does. And everywhere else here, I checked with Amanda, and everywhere else does offer that federal flood. On the second page, coastal hazards, like just check this for every single house. Every house in this entire area, even if you're Jacksonville, Richlands, wherever, yes, we have coastal hazards. So that's all you need to know about that. The federal disaster assistance. This is super important because if somebody has gotten assistance because their house got damaged during the hurricane, and they, after that, do not carry flood insurance, then if it were to get damaged again, they might not qualify or probably won't qualify to ever get assistance again. Because they're saying, hey, we told you, we gave you assistance, you needed to get flood insurance, even if it's not in a flood zone. So that's why this is important, because if somebody did get assistance and then did not maintain flood insurance on their property, sells it, the next person buys it, we have another disaster, another Florence comes through, they probably aren't going to qualify for any assistance at all.
What about like if you didn't flood, like my roof came off? Is
Did
that
you get
different?
assistance from,
FEMA?
if you got assistance from FEMA, that's my
Oh, no, not
understanding.
FEMA, not FEMA. We did an insurance claim.
Yeah, we
Oh, not an insurance claim. This is the federal disaster
Okay,
relief.
all right, yeah,
So
no
if you,
FEMA, but just,
okay.
we did have it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's just the federal disaster assistance. So if you got money from that program,
Okay, no, we didn't get money
then
from
they're
that.
gonna say, we told you you should have got flood insurance. And then, so it's important to ask if you know that a house was damaged in the storm, do the due diligence for your client, ask if they ever got any federal money. And if they did, then you need to make sure they have flood insurance. If they don't have flood insurance, you need to do your research with, I guess, with FEMA to see if, if anything else were to happen. I guess that's why they need to have flood insurance after that. You just make sure that they get flood insurance, and then they won't need the FEMA. If you are unsure and the agent is unsure, always 110% mark unknown. That's why that unknown box is there. So make sure you're 100% sure, because you don't want this coming back at you later.
I'm just putting on.
Yeah, unknown is great. And if you know, I mean, if you're selling a property on Vernon, you know that it flooded, I mean, that's different than you
I
know.
would even go a step further and say, never check has not, even if they told you.
Right, yes, I agree with that. Yeah, never check has not, just only check unknown, or if you know that they have, then definitely mark that they have. Okay. The next one, the coastal property insurance pool. This is referring to the NCJUA, which is your wind and hail. All coastal counties can obtain coverage with the NCJUA. It's just that most local insurance companies won't write through that company because they can get a better deal somewhere else. Now, if you're using an insurance company like State Farm that maybe doesn't write here at the coast, then they might use the NCJUA, which all coastal counties qualify for this. So just put yes. And just know that if you're using Amanda or anybody else local, they're probably not going to use your wind and hail through NCJUA because it's going to be more expensive and not as good. Does that make sense to everybody?
So always check it.
Always
Sure.
check it.
I didn't check it on this one.
Yep, because anything at the coast will qualify because that has to do with your wind and hail. Sandbags, self-explanatory. If there are sandbags outside the property, obviously make sure you check that. Personal property, you're probably always going to check this unless you're not getting a refrigerator. Even if you're getting a refrigerator, this is really good for beach houses though. It's basically saying that we are not liable as the agent to make sure that the 10 forks and spoons and knives that were in the drawer at the time of the time you viewed it are still there when we go to close. Like, we have no idea of the condition of everything in the house, which is really important when you're selling a furnished beach house, because sometimes people go in and they'll take their favorite painting off the wall, they'll take the clock, they'll take the whatever, and then the buyer comes and says, I love that painting, what happened? Like, that, this is just saying we are not responsible for that.
So with the sandbags, like obviously it's if you're on the north end, they're there. But what if,
Yeah.
should you still check it for any ocean front? Because what if at a later date they bring in sandbags, but there wasn't
Like
any
it's
at
part of the
time?
beach renourishment project or something.
Should you always check that if it's ocean front? Just to
Always check sandbags?
Well, because it says it may have sandbags located within the dune structure, So I'm just thinking like what she said, they're doing beach nourishment. So when you go under contract, there's not, but what if like a couple weeks later, for some reason they're brought in and you didn't check that?
It says which may have to be removed at a future date, so we're talking about the day that they sign it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if, at the time that they sign this is when you're gonna have a date on there.
So if there's no
If they come
sandbags
in
in
and
that moment,
add,
don't
right,
check it?
yeah.
Okay.
If they come in and add sandbags, then that's a different story. And you can always update this. So if you get under contract and you know they're adding sandbags, then just come in and change it and then have them initial that, okay, now they know that there are sandbags.
I was just thinking mainly if it would be like a deal breaker for them or something, if there's sandbags or, I know the north end's like way different because that's pretty permanent that they're there, but I was just thinking.
I mean, if they add them at any time, go in and change this and make sure that they're aware that they've added them. Because if they're a buyer that's not local and they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But you, after closing, you can't help if the county comes in and
Yeah.
puts sandbags out. At the time you closed, there weren't any.
Okay.
So for all Nate's ship watch stuff that he's doing, he needs to be checking.
Yeah.
Is there sandbags?
Yeah.
that should
I don't know.
If there are, yeah,
Don't
yeah.
Or
Okay,
whatever.
and then obviously your buyer signs, you sign, and you check that you're their buyer's agent. Do you guys have any questions on this one?
I want to copy that.
Okay, yeah, I'll make a copy with my notes in here. And then, another thing that I wanted to talk about real quick and touch on is, the appraised value addendum, just because we're in so many multiple offers, which let me pull this up so that everybody can, well, actually, Doug can pull it up on his end if he wants. I have it right here for you guys. So the appraised value addendum is basically saying that if the house, if say you're offering, the house is listed at 200,000, you're offering 210,000, you don't know if it's going to appraise, you don't think it's going to appraise. Stephanie, you've used this a lot. Your buyer is agreeing to pay the purchase price, the difference, if it doesn't appraise at that amount. Now, Janine just ran into this, and not to call you out, but sometimes it's super, super important to put in there, buyer agrees to pay $5,000, whatever, out of pocket above the appraised value, just to protect your buyer in the event that the appraisal comes in much lower than you think. I know Janine's came back and she was shocked because her appraisal came in, what? How much?
It was listed for 140. We're under contract for 145 and it came in at 135.
Yeah,
And we signed the open-ended appraisal addendum because we were in multiples and they said they would be able to bring the difference.
yeah. So now instead of where they thought they might have to bring 5,000, now it's 10,000 to bridge the gap. So I like what Stephanie does. You just add a text box underneath, and Doug's got it pulled up, but you would just go up to the top, you would click add and add in a text box just like you can in any other document, and then just type in buyer agrees to pay X amount out of pocket above appraised value. And then that will,
I'm working with the attorney to get it updated, so hopefully there's a field in there that says or, and we can make that edit
Yeah.
without having to drop everything in there. So when I get that, I'll let everybody know and update it. Also, with all of these attorney prepared addenda, I'm getting them on his letterhead, so it says the law firm. It doesn't just look like a Word document. We have all those soon.
okay, that will be really helpful. Okay, so does anybody have questions on the appraisal addendum and why it's important to do that? No, okay. All
I
right,
have to go in like 5 minutes.
go ahead, yeah, that's fine.
I just wanted to let you know why you paused.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. The next question that I've had, and I think we pretty much all, I'm just gonna say this really fast, is the WDIR addendum. Just make sure with this form, I know it's annoying because it's new, it's still newer. The first set of boxes, you're only initialing those boxes if you only want them to pay for the pest inspection, for the actual WDIR report. If you want the bond, you don't have them initial that top one. You only have them initial the middle boxes, the second box. And that is saying that they will obtain a new wood destroying insect report and or a renewable contract at the cost of up to, and always, you can check with April. I've been writing 400. Now I'm learning 500 is a better amount to put in there. Are you guys what are you all writing?
I put I was putting 325, but just because I've been in multiple so much lately, I haven't even been doing. I'm like, just pay for the report and then they can pay for the bond.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I mean, if you're in
The
multiples,
last
you
one
might
we
not want to
got
add
was
that.
like 450.
Yeah.
I've never had one come back that much. Like mine
Oh, I
was
have.
only like 145.
My
now.
Hampstead one was 900.
Which company did you use? Because you can always find a cheaper company.
I don't know, but
There
it was,
is one in, if they came from Wilmington. Wilmingtons I feel like are so
Yeah.
expensive compared to like Modern or Maze.
I can't
But
remember.
yeah,
who
I
the
guess it's
company
better
was.
just
I think
to-
it was Bug and a Rug.
They're expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were gonna do my beach house and it was like 900 and we called Maze and Maze was like, no, it's just 350.
Yeah, Maze is the cheapest that I think I found too. So if you guys ever get a quote and your seller's like, holy crap, like
Yeah.
I'm not paying $500 where I didn't agree to this,
Yeah.
check with Maze because they are really good.
I've just been worried lately in multiples, like putting, I mean,
Yeah.
that's an extra like $500, but if someone else didn't put that, so
Right,
obviously ask your clients first if they're okay with that, but I
Yeah.
haven't been doing it.
that's true. Yeah, so if you're in multiples, then you might just want to check that first box and just ask for the report. If you're not and your clients want the bond, I highly recommend them getting a bond because if not, it could be up to $900 to have it reinstated. So just remember, if you're asking for money for the bond, well, not money, but if you're asking for the bond to be transferable, then you need to sign that second box. The third box, I don't know why you'd ever do that, but you wouldn't really. That's just saying that they're not going to give you a report.
So
if
then
it's
why would you
VA
even fill out the
right,
contract?
yeah, I don't know
or
why
the
you'd ever,
paper?
exactly,
You wouldn't.
you wouldn't. So the last box, just know you're never gonna use it. The first box is the inspection, the second is if you're gonna get a bond. And you only check one of the boxes. You don't need to check the top and the middle. Got it? Okay, that's fast. All right, let me see what else we had. So Janine, I didn't even tell you I was gonna have your assistance on this one, but because
Sure.
you just talked to the zoning guy.
Yeah.
Ashley had a question on, which everybody seems to lately, the non-conforming and conforming lots on the island. So if it's non-conforming, it's gotta be, for it to be rebuildable, it's gotta be 60 feet plus from the first line of vegetation, which is the dunes.
So the guy said, when I caught him, he said, when they go out there and they decide which ones are, when they take the measurements, if any part of the house
Yes.
is within the natural line of vegetation, not like fake whatever, it has to be
Yes.
like natural line, then it's
I
non-conforming.
feel like no oceanfront.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Most oceanfront probably is not.
It's not,
It's
yeah,
not.
Yeah.
So it's important to tell your seller that,
Yeah.
or I mean your buyer that,
yeah,
that they understand that it's a non-conforming lot.
Right.
Pretty much, unless you got a B lot, like how we
Yeah.
saw
And-
those one, like,
yeah, and he said if more than 50% of the value of the structure gets destroyed, you cannot
How
rebuild.
much percentage?
More than 50%.
Oh, I
and it's off of it's off of the tax value.
Yeah.
It's not off of like you bought it for $1 million. If the tax value is 500,000, then sorry about your luck. It's
So how does that work? They just give you the insurance payoff and
I
then you're
don't
just stuck
know.
with the lot?
well, if you have insurance, then I would assume that would be something that you would want to talk to whoever's going to write your insurance for that place. If you don't have insurance, see you later. You own a piece of land.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so scary.
Now, and I was asking him about the decks because of that one property.
Yes.
And he said, if there's not an existing deck,
Yeah.
you can't build it.
Right.
Yeah.
If part of the deck gets destroyed, then you can.
Yeah. So that's another thing. I had a client, and I think Janine had a client in the
Same
same house.
Yeah.
It was ocean front, but there wasn't a deck off the back, off the ocean side. And the client wanted to buy it, but wanted to add the deck onto the back. And it was right at the dunes, and I knew there was no
Yeah.
way. So the CAMA's not gonna approve a permit if it's to build anything extra
Yeah.
onto the house unless it's 60 feet
Behind.
behind the first line of natural vegetation. So really important to know if you've got
Yeah.
somebody looking at oceanfront stuff.
Yeah.
Anybody, does that make
And that
sense
guy
to
is
everyone?
really, really, really good resource. I could just give him to my buyers and be like,
Yeah.
call this guy.
So I have a CAMA contact for North Topsail Beach and for Surf City that I reach out to every
Mhm.
time I have a question, and he gets back to me usually within like a day.
A day.
He's not instant,
Yeah.
but usually within a day he'll get back to us. So he's a good resource if your clients have questions and you don't know how to answer them. Just direct them to
And
him.
my friend is the town clerk at Surf City, and she's an amazing resource. She knows all the information on all the beach renourishment, and the sandbags, and the Army Corps engineer, and all that stuff.
Would she come talk to us? I
Oh,
feel like That
yeah.
would be a really good.
Oh, yeah.
So that we're educated
Yeah.
on the.
She just sent me an email yesterday and talked to me all about it.
Tell her to come in. We'll like buy her
Sure.
breakfast or something. And
Yeah.
She was helping me like the beach management. Yeah, she should explain that because my
Yeah.
guy just had a question like, what's going on with that?
I send everybody the link. So there's a link if you go to North Topsail Beach and you can search the Beach Renourishment Project. And there's a link that I sent it to Janine because she had somebody asking about it. But I can post it in the group even. And it's a link that I just share that.
Yeah,
Here
she
you go,
said,
read
yeah,
it.
she said that Army Corps of Engineers Beach Nourishment Project will construct the new berm 25 feet and 14 feet high, lengthen the beach 150 feet. It's a very extensive project and will place 13.5 million cubic yards of sand on the beach. Use the link below to find our full details. But each property owner has to sign an easement agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't, she said, then they will move forward with condemning the easement if the property owner doesn't sign it. So for this specific house, this seller hadn't signed it yet.
So what do you mean an easement agreement so that they can still have their access over? to
Right,
the
because
beach?
because it's ocean front on their
Yeah.
property when they're dumping the sand.
Hmm.
Yeah, so every property owner, and there's like a map and you click on your address and it brings up, how it's gonna affect your property. It's like this whole big.
So there's probably so many homeowners that don't live here that don't know.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
what the
I
hell is
get
this?
it.
Because there was like 700 documents in the thing, and I was like, it was crazy.
So what happens?
So if they don't
outside?
sign it, they don't get,
It
they can't have
says-
a walkway to the beach?
The owners of 612 North Shore has not signed their oceanfront easement. It is down to the final hour, so it's pertinent that they do so, or the town will move forward with condemning the easement.
Ooh.
That's the listing agent's issue. That's,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So something important to know though, if you're listing oceanfront property,
yeah.
which hopefully we all are.
Yeah. But yeah, that whole beach renourishment project is like,
Is this just on
Yeah.
the north end or the whole island?
They've already started
so
it
they've already started it.
at Topsail.
But they only have the permit or they're only allowed, they can't do it between like April and whatever it is. And
Yeah.
they're trying to get permit to be able to do it more
To
times during
continue.
the year. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they're out, what's her name? Kelly filmed them out there with the trucks the other day.
Oh, I didn't see.
I mean,
Yeah.
last summer photographing on South Topsail, like you walk down and then you walk up these huge hills now to get
Yeah.
to the beach, like from the houses. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you can barely even like see the beach. New mountain of sand.
That's funny. All right. I think that's all the talk that I had about the beach stuff
It's
and the
confusing.
coastal. Yeah, it can
It's
be
so
confusing. So we're obviously all here as a resource for each other. Ashley had another question on zoning. Ashley, are you muted? You might want to unmute. I know your question had to do with like what's allowed. What did your client want specifically?
Well, like he wants to buy land and then put his personal business on there. And so my question is
Commercial.
it restricted? You know what I mean? Like if he were to buy a residential zone lot, could he do that?
You have to call the
Yeah.
zoning department and the guy Riggs over there will be able to tell you, Onslow County will be able to tell you what it's zoned for.
Yeah, because
Commercial
Janine
or
went through
residential.
this for somebody that wanted a daycare. so-
And guess what?
And
Now they're living on base.
Oh my God.
All that.
But yeah, something as specific as that, I would, like, if it's in an HOA, you can pull the covenants and you can see. Sometimes you can pull the covenants anyways, like on.
And some are zoned commercial and residential.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it just depends, honestly. That's like a,
Call zoning.
yeah, just call zoning, because you don't want to get into that mess with like thinking that maybe it
Yeah,
could be. I would just call them to verify. I know that doesn't help you much in the moment,
But he's really good over there for Onslow County zoning.
yeah, just know if it's in an HOA, the chances are like extremely high that that they're not going to allow a business in there. Let's see what else was on my list. Let's see. Oh, this is really random, but make sure you guys are keeping a folder of your working with real estate agents that never went anywhere. So if you showed a house, I have a folder in my loop that is just for my working with real estate agents brochures for people that didn't end up buying, because you got to have a log of these. So some people keep them on their desk in a folder if they like physically signed, but it's just, then you can throw them away if you scan them in. It's a really random thing, but I have that on my list. Another question was the GIS maps. I know, Mom, you had a question on how to do that. So Doug, I'm gonna pull up the GIS maps on here.
It's like my favorite thing to use.
Is it?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay,
Oh,
so I need to save, I need to save
I
it.
was not loving it yesterday.
So I
Everything, you can get D mode.
My
Oh, your-
laptop
your
was
mouse.
so touchy and it's
Yeah.
like going in it and Andrew's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I can't figure that out. It's fine.
Okay, so when you go to the GIS maps, so Doug, I'm just like walking them through this online. I don't know how you want me to do this, but actually, if you're walking through it with us,
Which county?
Onslow County, just because we use it most, but there are,
But you could get in Pender.
Yeah. Pender one's easy too.
yeah, any county that you go to that you're.
So are
trying to
those
pull stuff.
links in the resource page? Like I was asking you, I just
I don't
want it to
think
be
so.
on my computer, so
Just
I
type in Onslow County and then
Just get
save it. Do Onslow
Yeah.
County GIS and then save it as a favorite on your thing.
Yeah.
So that you can just.
Can we add the GIS pages to the resource tab? People.
my computer.
Yeah, yeah. So.
I Googled Onslow County GIS and there it is. Right there.
Yeah, so if you want to add that to the resource page, it is good, especially for people that are just starting, that don't know what the heck they're going to, yeah. So if you go up to, this is the way that I do it,
Yeah,
I don't know
me
how
too,
everybody
yeah.
does it, but I click the binoculars on the top left, and you can search by parcel owner, or by, if you click on that, by the property address. So if you type address, just know it's very touchy. Same thing with owner. Like you might type in the address, and if you write street, it might not pull up. So like if I was looking for myself, which watch, I'll make a liar out of me, but property address 777 Harther, and it's usually Harther Drive, but I'm just gonna do 777 Harther. And then when it pulls up, that's all of our information. It's got my name right there. And then I can like view a copy of the deed here. There's the plat, the GIS card. The one that I get the most information from is going to be this property card. But if you zoom over and you look through like the scroll, the plat book page is
Mhm.
there. If there's like a subdivision, it'll be listed. So everything is,
The thing that I like a lot about this, do you ever use a map layers one?
which one?
So if you go up there to map layers,
Right here, yeah.
click on that, you can pull up flood zone, you can pull up city limits, if it's not in
Yes.
city limits, any of that. So if you go all the way down to 20, they've just added the 2020 aerial on there,
Where's it at?
keep going. So if you unclick the red, that'll scroll back up just a little bit. So see all those red boxes, city limits?
Yeah.
You can unclick that, so if you already know it's in city limits or not. But
Okay.
see where keep scrolling down,
2020
right
aerials.
there, yep.
So click
Click on
that.
that, click that box, and it'll give you the overhead of.
Oh, yep, that's our property.
Yep, and so you can see kind of like how much it's cleared, if there's a fence, if you're in wetlands, and if you scroll back up and you go up to flood, it'll pull up, not that this is a flood map, but it'll at least show you like where the wetlands are, where the flood
Is it
zones are.
flood effective?
Yep.
This one?
Yep. Yep. So then you can see the flood zones there, if you zoom out.
Oops, shoot.
Yeah, see how touchy? That's what
Yeah.
happened to me
I
last
know, it is really touchy. It's super
Obviously,
touchy.
you're
But
not.
I'm not in a
in the
flood
coastal,
zone.
yeah.
Yeah, so you can see that. Yes, but it would show up color wise.
And like a lot of people are like, how close am I to my neighbor? Is there woods behind me? You know, stuff like that. So that's really cool. And sometimes I'll just take a picture of that and text it to my clients to be like, hey,
Yes.
here's,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, so it's a great way to get an aerial shot of a property, especially, yeah, property lines, if they want to know, like, what shape is this property,
Yeah.
da-da-da, what's behind it. Like mine, we've got county-owned land behind ours, which obviously this doesn't say, but, and then if you click View Property Card on there, it's going to pull up, I use this when I'm entering listings into the MLS, so if you don't know how to enter a listing and you don't know how to find the deed book, the plat book information, the PIN number, that's right here too. So you guys see how that's right there?
Mhm.
That's where the agents are getting that from. If you scroll down, hold on, sorry. If you go over, like you can go down here and you can see like the past sales. Somebody's like, how much did they, I should be doing this for my own house, but how much did they, how much did they pay for their house? Like, you know, you have a client ask you like, what did they pay for it 5 years ago? First, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't freaking matter.
It
That's
doesn't
my
matter.
answer.
But if you have those clients that are just like super nosy, right, and they want to know, then just click on sales and you can see what the property sold for. If you click on commercial, it's probably nothing that's gonna come up because it's not commercial. This is, I don't know what OBY stands for. OBY, I'm not really sure what that stands for, but I don't know. The permits, if there was ever any permits pulled. So look, we got a deck permit on the 13th of November, 2019. So you can look at this. So I can't print the permit from here. You have to go somewhere else to print the permits out. But this will show you. So if somebody said, I don't know if that room was permitted, we added it, but I don't know. If you come on here, first you can call the county, but if you come on here, you can be like, yeah, they had a permit done in 2019 when they put their deck on. If you click on land, it'll talk to you about like the acreage, and if you have any information or any questions as far as that stuff goes. Sketch, same thing. It's going to show you like a little sketch of the floor plan. Full legal, that's where, is this where I get it? Yeah, plat book. So here's your plat book and your plat page, and if it's in a subdivision, this is the legal description. If you're like, where the heck are they getting that legal description from in the listing? It's right here. And then agricultural, nowhere. Photos, there's probably gonna be nothing. Yeah. Values, this is the tax, which is shit.
But when you put that in MLS, it automatically populates.
Yeah, so it will populate a lot of this stuff, but this just, it's not gonna when you go to put the listing in.
Right.
I mean, some of it will auto-populate,
Yeah.
but some of it won't. So this is where you can come and get all that information. Now, if you're looking at, I won't go through.
This week about just kind of going above and beyond and making buyer agents' jobs easier and providing info. A quick snapshot of this map overhead shot like that. It's just a real easy way to provide some additional info so they don't have to go find it. So it's for them to forward it to their clients so they can see what the lot lines are, even if it doesn't necessarily have dimensions or anything like that, if you don't have a survey. So, you know, when I know that and stuff in the MLS isn't the most fun, but when it comes to adding some documents and things like that, this is a really just nice way to help make a buyer agent's job easier. And we know how that can be sometimes because we're on the other side. So just kind of keep that in mind. And I suggest kind of go above and beyond, putting your best foot forward for your sellers.
Yep, absolutely. And then, there we go. Okay, so aside from that, Pender County is a little bit different. Same with New Hanover, but it's, I mean, you get the gist. You'll just have to do it a few times to walk through it. I won't go through. We mainly are in Onslow, so.
Pender County one is pretty easy.
Yeah, I feel like Pender County, New Hanover, I feel like.
Brunswick's a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I was last night, was on Brunswick.
It's
and I was
hard.
like,
Yeah.
mm.
And I even honestly don't have as much experience on those ones, so it's kind of trial and error. I know I was looking on that one for you that
Yeah.
one time, yeah. All right, I just wanted to bring attention to the links, which Mom, this is where you said you wanted the other, but make sure you're checking, Megan, you had, I think it was you, somebody, USDA. So there's the link there that you can click on that to see if a property is eligible, and you can just type in the address into that site. Doug, I'm on our resource page under links, I'm sorry.
That's actually helped me so much yesterday because she sent me all these homes and 2 out of the 4 she sent me were, and then the other 2 weren't. But then I did some more research and found her some other ones. So now we have 6 showings tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
I know, I'm doing my first USDA girl, and I'm like,
Yeah.
she hasn't bring anything to the table. Thank God it's USDA.
Yeah, and that is like, if you have somebody that doesn't have a lot of money, they might not even know that USDA loan is out there.
Yeah.
So you can be like, if you're purchasing outside of city limits, you might qualify. There are restrictions and there are certain things that,
You gotta meet all.
yeah, there's a lot of criteria like income wise and stuff like that. But if they qualify, it's really good because it's no money down.
Yeah.
Does take a little bit longer if you guys are writing USDA. It's like 45 days minimum close. It's longer
Yeah.
than.
That's what I told her too.
yeah.
So
But that's a really good resource, and like what Krista said, to send that to them. Like,
Yeah.
heck, they can search on their own if they, if this property is in.
And the lenders will know too. 'Cause they
Yeah.
have-
yeah, she has Ashley as the lender.
And the other, is the flood on here?
Yeah, I
Why do
just
not
saw it.
see it?
See,
It's
flood
the
risk.
FEMA.
It's up there.
Oh, right there. Okay. That's not where I
The
go.
first is on there. Go back.
There are multiple.
Where's
The
the?
first is right there.
Yeah, it's very.
One down.
Flood risk. Come on down.
Oh, Lord. Okay. I'm blind this morning. All right, trying to do both. So this is where you can go to see flood zone. So we were just looking at my house, for example. You can type in the address. Are y'all doing this?
Oh, yeah.
Oops, hold on. I didn't put Jacksonville. I forgot. The first is touchy
Yeah.
with, make sure you put the city in. There we go. So now you can see it's in flood zone X.
Yeah.
A very old picture of our house, I guess.
I get asked all the time about flood.
Oh, yeah, the pool's not there. Well, that's what my house
Your
was like
deck's not
without,
there.
and the deck's not there, yeah.
Where?
So,
But not VE, not very.
But you can,
expensive.
you can do, you know how to do the Cobra on there? Yeah.
so what are you talking about, Janine?
Well, if you're doing a flood property and you scroll down and you click the Cobra box, I just learned this, the
Where's
yellow
the
line.
Or,
See the map layer toolbox up at the top, next to the question mark?
this? Yeah.
Yep, click on that. Scroll all the way down, CBRS.
Yep, right there.
And if you click on that, if you're on an oceanfront property, if it is Cobra, it'll have the yellow,
It'll pull up.
yeah.
Can I ask, this may sound really stupid, what is a Cobra zone?
So Cobra zone means that they don't qualify for federal flood.
Okay.
Basically that it doesn't qualify for the NFIP program,
Okay.
meaning if somebody wants to get flood insurance, they have to get private flood
And it's
insurance.
expensive.
Okay.
Yeah, so just so they don't qualify for any federal flood assistance on.
It's like the most
In a Cobra.
expensive flood zone.
Yeah. Now, sometimes if you're in a VE zone, it could be cheaper still to get private flood insurance and better for you to get private flood than if you had the federal flood that you qualify for. Sometimes it might be a little bit more expensive, but just make sure that your clients, if you have a good insurance agent, they'll let them know. But like some of the properties at Villa Capriani or places like that, if you don't have, what is it called, Doug? Like loss of use or something. If you're using your property as an investment and a hurricane comes in and it shuts it down or like COVID and you can't have your, get your rental income, if you have the right insurance policy, it'll cover your loss of use. Like it'll cover what you were making so that you can still get that money.
Okay.
But if you don't have the right insurance and your people didn't know to ask for that, because they're renting their property, they could make nothing. So there were some property owners that didn't do quite so bad because they had that insurance in place. So just if you're selling to somebody that's going to use it as a rental, give them to Amanda because she can explain all that. All right, so let me see the rest of my list. Okay, flood. One thing just from this morning to touch on has nothing to do with anything we've been talking about, but this will apply to you guys at in the Raleigh office. If you know that a house has had a new roof, has had a new HVAC put in, has had a water filtration system, to be specific, put in, anything, solar panels put on their property, anything like that, make sure you ask the agent if they're paid off and get a copy of the receipt of the invoice, because if not, and you go to closing, and they find that in the title search right before closing or something, it could totally throw you off. It screwed me out of a deal. We had to terminate because solar panels weren't paid off, and then the seller didn't have the money to pay them off. My buyer didn't want to pay them, so the deal was gone. And then same thing with, yours isn't done, but she went to closing yesterday. Her buyer signed everything, and the listing agent didn't put, I don't know what happened, but that there was a water filtration system and they owed $7,000. And so now the property, the seller was going to profit like $5,000. And now if they pay that off, they're still short $2,000. So it's a crapshoot as to what's going to happen later today, I guess. But
my question is, should the attorney have caught that in a title search?
I feel like the attorney should have.
They would have put a lien on their house.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it not a mechanical lien?
I don't know.
The attorney
How would
got
I know that?
They did that to our house in Winston-Salem, and then that's when our listing agent was like, "Oh, there's a lien on your house. Did you know that?" And I was like, "No," but we had the money to pay our thing off and just call it a day.
Oh,
Be done with it,
shit.
yeah. So it's important to ask if these things are paid off, and then ask to get a copy of the receipts so that you can be on top of it, even if somebody else isn't maybe so on top of it.
Because we caught it, the attorney didn't catch it. So my question is, had nobody caught it and we moved forward, my seller signed, and then the water place comes back and
Takes it because it's not
takes it
paid for.
'cause
You mean your buyer or your seller?
My buyer.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I
I
don't
mean,
think there's going to be a mechanics or like a contractor's lien on any property that will show up in title unless they are behind on
Ours is on title search.
that.
but they owed $7,000.
That HVAC installed, that there's only to have a credit for it, there's going to be put on your house for that. That's going to be.
Well, what happens if you close without that being paid off then?
Who's responsible?
They would have to switch it over to the buyer.
Is the water filtration system-
Right, but if that wasn't part of the contract,
Exactly,
then.
well, that's what I'm saying.
And the water filtration
Because,
company comes knocking on your door?
Yeah, because the water company would have to call the buyers and be like, we
Yeah,
need your information so that you can continue paying for this.
but
So
see,
you
the
have to
buyer
like-
thought they were getting it with the price of the
Right,
house.
Right.
I didn't know that it wasn't moving forward.
Yeah.
Now I know to ask for receipts and was this paid for and
So Doug, what would have happened if they would have closed and then the water filtration system says you owe me? They'd have been going to court, probably.
Probably, or it could have been handled in a couple of different ways, and I'm not saying this is the 100% correct answer, but I think a few scenarios could have played out. One thing is, if the people want their money, the company that installed wants money for it, and the original sellers haven't paid and don't plan on paying, well, they're going to go after them, but they also may come and get the property,
Right.
Mhm.
which means that the new buyer may ultimately end up paying for it, so they don't come and take it.
Right.
How can they take the house?
not
No,
the
not the
house.
house.
Oh,
They
my
could.
God.
I was like, what?
I know. Yeah, so I mean, I feel like because for a lot of people, if they have a water filtration, that's a selling feature. Somebody wants that because
Well,
they think
I
they're
mean,
getting
yeah,
that.
it was $7,000.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean.
So that's why you're paying for that, yeah.
Come in and take that from you,
So
so.
best practices to ask for, if you see personal property like that on, in the MLS system, and it's gonna convey, make sure you're asking to get paid for. You may also want to go the extra mile, and if you see there's a new roof in the last year, or two, new HVAC in the last year or two, ask, hey, is this paid for? There's a generator, hey, is this paid for?
I would do
And
this.
not, get an invoice for it and send it to the attorney, so the sellers can at the very least pay for it out of their proceeds at closing, if they're not gonna take care of it before closing. And if they are gonna take care of it before closing, I would request some sort of documentation that's paid for.
Yeah. Yeah, so just to avoid a mess.
Shit.
Yeah, I would double check
Make
their
sure you're
RO system
getting-
too, because they're expensive as well, and
Yeah.
they do payments for those too.
For what?
The RO systems,
What's that?
Reverse osmosis.
Oh, yeah, okay.
you see
Yeah.
a lot of them in Wilmington, so.
Mhm. Yeah,
'Cause we have
exactly.
Because of the water.
So if you're a listing agent, make sure you're asking if they have anything that's not been paid off on their house.
Okay, so my Bridgeport people that have a thing, make sure they've got it paid for, because they've got a water thing.
Yeah, yeah. If not, just let them know that it has to be paid at closing. That's gonna
Or
come out of their
before.
proceeds, or before, yeah.
Pay that
I would
shit
say
down.
before, because when we did ours, they told us that they couldn't give us a confirmation that it was paid off a month out.
Oh,
And so we had to have the lawyer call, and he's like, I need like a written letter saying that it's paid off, and
Well, that's what mine
So-
asked for. We wanted a paid receipt that it's
Yeah.
paid before we record.
yeah,
Oh,
they told
yeah.
us that it would take a month for them to get it to us. So, and then we were
Wow.
closing like a week.
Oh my gosh, don't tell her that. Oh.
So how does that affect I mean, he's in the house already, but
Yeah.
if it's not required, I mean, is he allowed to continue to?
so legally, if
stay
the
in
house
how
burns
long?
down, the insurance is still with, right?
Right, but
Until-
I think what you're asking us is he have to pay rent now? And the answer is no, because he's not the delaying party. They
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's only, you have that rent clause built
Yeah.
in. If he's the delaying party for any reason, then he pays X amount, or if the deal terminates, then they pay X amount or whatever. But
So he's okay.
yeah, it's not his fault.
I'm just
That's for the
asking.
seller. They're gonna have to pay another month of their mortgage and everything. If
Unless
this
it gets
isn't-
taken care of today,
Yes,
unless
yeah.
they come up with the $7,000 cash.
I'd be
then
knocking
they're
on
okay.
grandma's door.
Right, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
My grandma, let's go.
yeah.
Hope
So.
you're in the will.
I
Oh,
don't know. Oh, but All right. But Doug, that's pretty much all the important things I was going to say. I have some other stuff that I was just going to show them that I printed out from the resource page. So I don't know if you want to keep filming or not, but I was just going to remind them of these checklists and make a copy of them for anybody that wants them and stuff.
Just say it real quick. That way, whoever watches this in the future can kind of reference it.
Okay, so another thing that I thought was important is to, especially for those of you who've never done a listing before, there's a preparing for a listing checklist on our resource page. I don't know if everybody knew that this was there, but it's really good to print out and keep at your desk so that you have it. It kind of goes over everything that you need to do. And then this, I forgot about, Doug, my bad, we have a flyer template. So if you're leaving a booklet at the house, the flyer template online, you can just drop in the picture of the listing. And it looks really good on the top of your binder. And then, and you can edit this to say whatever you want. I just put the remarks in, but you can put the price, bedrooms, bathrooms, like whatever you want in that little box. But I think this looks better on top of the binder. And then when they open it, you can have the MLS sheets in there and the disclosures and all that stuff that we leave in the house. And then if you're doing an open house, Doug's got it where if you open it, it'll be this. And then the next sheet is the MLS sheet. And you can just drag and drop the MLS, the new MLS sheet over the one that's like in the template that he's got online. And you can print it double-sided. So when you're at an open house, you can give people a flyer and it looks really pretty like this, but on the back it has all the information that they have. I just think it looks a little bit nicer than just giving them the straight MLS sheet, you know what I mean? So I thought that was a good resource. And then remember there's the checklist too for closing. So if you haven't done a listing before and now you're like, oh shoot, I'm going to closing, what do I need to do? There's a whole checklist for that. Same thing, checklist for before showing. It's good for the newbies if you don't know what to do before. Yeah, you can. So a checklist for before, and that's why I printed them out in case anybody wanted to make a copy. And then I did print out two, just Doug, so that if anybody wanted to make a copy of it for easy reference, the contract to close checklist of what the agent is responsible for. April made this for us. We did a meeting on it, but I thought this was pretty good to print out and keep at your desk too. And then there's a pre-closing checklist for, this would be good for like when you go through before you close, you're making sure you're getting anything that needs to be paid off and all of that stuff. Yeah, it's a nice checklist to have just to keep hanging at your desk. And then the last thing I printed out was just the, if anybody wanted it, the financing stuff. I think this is good stuff to have on hand. I'm a nerd. I like paper copies of everything.
I do.
We got them online, but I went through and I'm like, everybody should have a copy of this at their desk.
I printed out all of our lenders too.
Oh, that's a good, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you can, do that. But this tells you, so if you have somebody call and you're like, shoot, I don't remember, you know,
And
what
then like trying to find, like, I like paper because I try to go through and like find everything.
Yeah. So even if you just keep a binder of this stuff on your desk, I mean, if you don't want to hang it up, I think it's good stuff to have. So I'll leave it here if anybody wants to go through it.
Yeah.
And then here's the coastal area disclosure too, and the appraisal addendum with the verbiage of what to write on the inside. So, okay. All right, Doug, that's it.
That's great. Well, thank you for doing this. I know it's helpful to everybody. It will be for other people that watch it down the line. So thanks for taking the time to do it. The in-person stuff really helps make it more tangible to understand sometimes. So I think we maybe should make a point to do this on on a regular recurrent basis, just to revisit stuff in person. And just don't forget not to check out the resources page. There's a lot of things on there that are designed to make the job easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
How many of us in our
Thanks, Adam, for being on.
Have a great day.
On Thursday, but I have my name.
Bye.